Let's get into a recap. As always, guys, the main event of the evening for UFC 272, it was Chaos Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Oh my goodness. A lot of judges, I think one judge had it 50-44. Did you see any of those rounds as a 10-8 situation there?
I got to be honest, no, not at 10-8. I was kind of shocked that one judge had it 10-8. It was probably Sal, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
that.
You know, I'll get right into it, okay? We knew the game plan of Colby Covington coming in was to primarily work on the grappling and the wrestling, and that's exactly what he did. But a true testament, my hat's off to Jorge Masvidal. I mean, these guys were throwing with malice. I mean, obviously, these two hate each other. You know, Jorge did a good job primarily of trying to defend those takedowns, and I thought to some extent he was successful. But Colby Covington is just relentless, and he never stops, dude. He never stops. It's absolutely incredible. But there were a couple times, man, when Colby would take him, and then Jorge's dropping these elbows on Colby, and Colby was in a tough spot there.
Real compromised position.
He had to readjust there a few times. But man, what a main event! This fight really did live up to the hype. And shout out to both guys, man. I mean, a really great fight, and it lived up to all the beef, everything. And you know, Jorge doesn't have much to be upset about. Yeah, he did lose the fight, and he did lose every round, in my opinion. But it was, but in all seriousness, like. You know, they really put it out on the line. Like, you could tell Jorge was tired, but he kept going. He kept trying. He never gave up. And, like, I respect it. You know, even though he did lose 5 rounds, like, I just got so much respect for Jorge Masvidal and what he was able to do. And he had, let's
decent
keep in
takedown
mind,
defense, I'd say.
Well, yeah, but let's also keep in mind that he had his bright moments in this fight as well. That 4th round, he dropped Colby. Like, dropped him, and I thought Colby was in trouble. But Colby Covington, man, with that cardio, with that second lung, as he likes to call it, which is hilarious in its own right. But Colby he can just rebound so fast. It's so impressive, man. But
Devin, were you saying yesterday in the group chat that Sal D'Amato gave Jorge the 2nd round or something like that? Because one judge did have it 49-46.
No, I was saying that Sal gave him Colby all 10 rounds, and that the first judge, I'll look it up real quick, actually gave Jorge the 2nd round.
That's insane to me. Yeah. I don't know how the fuck you'd give Jorge that 2nd round.
You can give him the 4th.
Maybe that's the 4th, fair. Yeah.
With the drop, like if a judge would have 49-46 gave Jorge the 4th because of that knockdown, that flash knockdown, okay, that's fine. Whatever. It is what it is, because we all knew Colby won that fight with the wrestling, but very strange for that 2nd round to give to Jorge Masvidal. And I just rewatched that this morning. I did not see that 2nd round Jorge Masvidal winning it, but hey.
It is what it is.
Junichiro Kamijo, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Oh, okay.
Gave Jorge the 2nd round.
Okay, so I did not see that happening. Shout out to Joseph Bellotti in the chat. Can we stop making excuses for Masvidal and just say he was too emotional and put pressure on himself, man? Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think there was a lot of emotion coming into this fight. And, you know, when you're fighting a guy like Colby Covington with the shit talk, the character, the persona he puts on, it's hard not to get emotional, man.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, even look at Usman, as cool, calm, and collected as he usually is. Even he was emotional in that fight. And maybe because of that, that's why it was so competitive. But I don't want to shit on Colby and on his cardio and all this stuff. Like, he is the 2nd best welterweight in the world right now. Like, we could all agree on that. Asterisk Hamzat Chimaev. I'd love to see that matchup. Who knows what happens there?
He's got the biggest test with Gilbert Burns, and we will see.
We will see.
But again, Colby Covington, you have to look at the course of his career, everything that he's done. You know, Hamzat's only had a few fights in the UFC. I think he's a great prospect, but we got to put the respect on Colby Covington. And for everything that Colby Covington is, all the shit talk and everything, like, he's fun, he's dynamic, he's entertaining, and, like, he puts his money where his mouth is. Yeah, he talks shit, and he does cross lines where you're like, dude, this guy's an asshole. Like, Dana White in the post-fight press conference, it was so funny because one of the reporters brought up, they're like, you know, you've had the problems with Colby, and he goes, what? I don't have problems with Colby. What are you talking about? He goes, I think Colby's a fucking asshole. And he's like, but everyone agrees right here. And then everyone's kind of laughing because it is true. Like, this is just what Colby is. This is what he does. This is how he sells pay-per-views. And I don't know, man. Like, as much as sometimes I think he crosses the line, like, I respect it because he puts his money where his mouth is, and he fucks shit up, dude.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah, I mean, look at Conor McGregor, and he had that famous post-speech. It's like, everyone talks about how I talk, and I talk, but I back it up.
Yep.
But I back it up. That's Colby, man. He backs it up. I mean, he looked fantastic, dude. He not only did he look fantastic in the wrestling aspect, he was keeping. I mean, this is what my breakdown was. He was going to pull the RDA fight all over again. He was going to push Jorge up against the fence. He was going to grind him into it, and if he gets a takedown, he gets a takedown. He didn't have to get it every single time. And then when they separated, he was unloading combinations and he was landing, and his head movement was fantastic as well. He was outstriking Jorge Masvidal in a lot of those exchanges, man. We have to give Colby Covington. We know he's a wrestler, but his striking is so improved, man. People don't talk about that enough.
Yeah.
They really don't talk about how good his hands are, how good his kicks are and everything. He is the complete package. And, man, I don't want to get right into his future right now because, Kamaru Usman did come out there and say, maybe down the line I do a third fight with him. Why not? Eventually, you might have to do that if Colby keeps on dominating guys, but there's a lot of matchups you can make right now with Colby Covington, and I would favor him in a lot of these, man.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be real. Colby is the kind of guy to maybe, not take a Khamzat Chimaev fight.
Yeah.
Not trying to shit on him, but I just don't see him ever taking a fight like that, as much shit as he talks about the guys. But, you do Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, you do Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards, you do Colby Covington versus name a fucking guy, and I'm probably taking Colby in all of those fights.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing here. Obviously Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman is set for July tentatively now. You have Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev. I actually understand the strategic call out from Colby Covington to call out Dustin Poirier. One,
yes.
Obviously ATT. He was calling it.
There's so much beef there as well. It's another
course.
Jorge Masvidal situation.
And because you kind of have to let this welterweight division kind of play itself out. We got to see what happens with Leon Edwards in July and then Khamzat and Gilbert. I think it's a great idea. Like Colby said, he wants to get right back at it and he wants to fight on International Fight Week. Why do you think that is? Oh, that's right. Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards. And I'm telling you right now, I think Colby Covington has to win 2 more fights. And if he wins them decisively, the same way he went out there and beat Jorge Masvidal, he could take, if Khamzat does beat Gilbert, I think he's probably the next guy in line. But then you can either take Leon Edwards or Gilbert Burns coming off a loss if he gets Poirier in July, right? I think he's 2 fights away from another title. And we got to keep this in mind too. Colby Covington is still in the prime of his career. He's only 34 years old. A little bit different situation now than Jorge Masvidal. He's now 37. This is 3 straight losses. Yes, 2 back-to-back to the undisputed pound-for-pound greatest fighter in the UFC right now, Kamaru Usman. But now to lose to Colby Covington, they're kind of on 2 different paths, right? So I like Colby by next year. He did lose twice to Usman, but they're very competitive. And I think he's the most competitive guy right now in the welterweight division. Asterisk to Khamzat Chimaev, but we got to see what he does against Burns. But I respect the hell out of Colby. I don't always agree with the shit that he says, but I'm a fan of him, man. I'm a fan of him. And at the end of the day, what is he doing? He's putting his name out there. He's making money. And some guys just got to be the heels. Some guys got to be heels to make money, like Chael Sonnen. Chael did a lot of that shit where you're like, bro, you crossed some lines. But now Chael's a household name. He's got a great podcast. He's one of the best around. So it is what it is. On that. But Colby is fucking legit, dude.
Yeah, shout out to S. Dresden in the chat. Khamzat will absolutely dismantle Colby, and I'm not going to disagree, dude.
I won't disagree.
I think Khamzat's the next champ. I think he not only dismantles, I think he just beats everyone in this division. Asterisk and Usman. That's it. That's the most competitive fight for him. And even then, I would not be shocked if Khamzat just smashes Usman for 3 straight rounds. But, we'll find out. The future is very bright for Khamzat and Colby. So Dustin Poirier, that's the only fight to make right now, I think. It's what sells more. Colby Leon, Colby Gilbert, or Colby Dustin. I think Colby Dustin because you could sell the beef. You could sell the animosity there.
Yeah, you could. And then, obviously, we also have to talk about this. Vicente Luque, Bilal, remember the name Muhammad. Yes. They've got a fight together now. So, again, we have to see where this welterweight division goes out. But I like it. I like the grudge match. Dustin Poirier's, the good guy, the Good Fight Foundation charity. He's a really stand-up individual. And then you've got the heel, Colby Covington, talking shit. ATT, saying it's a trash place.
Calling him a cuck.
Calling him a cuck and stuff, yeah.
Sorry, I'd muted. I could hear you eating.
Didn't Dustin say that he wouldn't fight Colby in the ring? That he would have to do it outside the ring?
Out in the streets.
Yeah. So he would never fight him in the ring? So are we going to see that, you think, down the road?
I got to be honest with you.
If the money's right?
It does not. With Dustin Poirier now losing 2 title fights by submission, For Dustin, I don't know if that fight makes as much sense as it does for Colby because, one, that fight will be at welterweight, which does nothing for Dustin's career other than it being a grudge match. And that's a great point that you bring up. I don't think Dustin does take that fight because there's nothing really for him unless he gets paid heavy, and Colby Covington does the same thing that he did with Jorge Masvidal,
but if he
not get the pay-per-view
If
points.
he beats Colby, you're beating the number one contender in a new division. Like, that immediately catapults him to almost a title shot, So maybe the incentive is there.
So, yes.
Just to play devil's advocate, because I do agree with you, actually.
You're actually absolutely right. If Dustin in his career, if he does not, that's actually a really good point, Tabor. Because if Dustin wants to move up a weight division, a weight class, then take the fight because you're right. You beat a Colby Covington. You're right in line, dude. But the welterweight division is just so weird right now. We got so many fights that we still got to see. I don't know strategically if Dustin does want to move up or not. I mean, let's keep in mind. Let's remember this. Dustin Poirier early in his career was a featherweight.
Yeah.
But he's a big 155er. Colby Covington in the post-fight press conference was talking about Dustin, saying that he's a bully because he's got to cut all this weight to get to 155 when he's actually naturally a 170 the same way Colby Covington is. But yeah, you bring up a great point, and I like that. I love the fight, and I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see Dustin move to a new weight class. Not losing 2 title fights, it makes sense.
And I think they're both true 165ers. It would be very easy for Colby to make 165. I think he is a 165er. He's too big to make 155, so that's why he stays at 170. And he's that dominant. He's the second best welterweight in the world.
Yeah.
So if there was a 165-pound division, Usman's not making that.
No.
He barely makes 170 sometimes. So, I mean, he would be the champ, I think, at 165. Other than maybe like a Khabib. If Khabib didn't retire or something like that, it's very interesting. Because I actually think that they match up very well because I don't think Colby's that much bigger than Dustin. I think they're actually around the same size. I do believe both these men are 165ers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we're beating a dead horse here because we've talked about it so much, how we'd love to see a new weight class, 165, because you do have so much tremendous talent within these two divisions especially. But I just do not foresee it happening. But who knows? Sometimes they just surprise the hell out of you. We never thought we'd ever see a BMF belt. That was so random, but it did happen. So maybe one day we do get a 165 division. But the UFC has got such a great pool of talent now that it would be nice to get that additional weight class. But I mean, only time will tell on that.
Yeah. So we talked enough about Colby. Let's talk about Jorge Masvidal. What happens next for him? Does he keep fighting? Is it time for maybe him to think about retirement or just take money fights?
Well,
maybe a Nate Diaz rematch or something like that and then ride off into the sunset?
Well, he did just sign that 3-fight deal right before this Colby Covington fight. So he's got 3 more fights on his contract. He's only 37 years old. He's a superstar. Say what you will. Yes, he does lose, but so does Conor. So does Nate. And they're still superstars in the UFC, okay? So, with Jorge Masvidal, he's got options. He's got a lot of options. I mean, one, Nate Diaz, of course, the BMF belt. That fight's always going to sell, depending on what Nate Diaz does with Conor or whatever the hell's going on there. Conor McGregor as well at 170. I mean, who would not want to see that striking matchup? Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal. There are options here, but I think in this point in Jorge Masvidal's career, every fight's a big money fight for him because I don't foresee him fighting for a belt again. At 37 years old, he'll have to string together 3 or 4 wins, and then it's a tough sell on top of that because he's lost twice to Kamaru Usman, got knocked out the second time. So I think realistically for Jorge, I still love watching him fight. I think he's an awesome fighter. I think he's a good dude, and yeah, I think it's a big money fight. So a Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor.
I agree with you, but let's say both those. You're right. It's Nate Diaz, Conor. Yeah. If he was smart, those are the only fights he would take. But let's say both of those fights are off the table. Let's say Conor goes down to 155, tries to make it a run or whatever, and Nate Diaz, they don't want to let. I don't know. Nate Diaz seems way more realistic. But let's just say both those fights are off the table. This is the name I would love to see.
Okay.
Jeff Hands of Steel Neal versus Jorge Masvidal.
Now, as far as strategically, that matchup, stylistically, I love that, Tabor. I really do, and I think that's a great name that you bring up. My only concern with that is with Jorge Masvidal, I don't know if he would take that because he's such a big star, but he is also on a 3-fight losing streak, and maybe that's the win you need to propel yourself because he'll have 2 more fights on his contract after that. So that fight very well could happen. Very, very well could, and I love that match.
You also have Neil Magny out there and Michael Chiesa and stuff like that.
Well, that one's not going to happen. But Jeff Neal, Jeff Neal?
I like Jeff Neal
stylistically,
a lot.
that's fun because you know they're just going to stand and bang.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely, 100%.
And that's what Jorge needs right now. Like, I don't want to see Jorge Masvidal take on another wrestler. He took on Kamaru Usman twice and now Colby Covington. And, you know, his takedown defense is getting better, but it's not at that elite level yet. And, like, still, a lot of credit to Jorge, man. He tried everything humanly possible, but it's just not quite there yet. So, hands of steel Neal, Jeff Neal, I like that. I like that matchup.
Yeah, S. Dresden, the way he is losing is bad, though, brother. Yeah, we know. We know. He got completely dominated there by Usman twice, and now he's completely dominated again by Colby. I mean, who's been on a losing streak like that as of late, just getting completely dominated? I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking, like, who's on a 3-fight losing streak? I'm brain farting for some reason. Either way, like...
I think Sam Alvey.
Well, I think it's like 8 or 11. Fight lose streak. But you know what? I am, you know, I do troll Sam a little bit, but like honestly, his next matchup, man, I really hope he gets a W. Just because I like the guy so much.
I'm thinking more like Connor. Like he's kind of in a Connor situation, so maybe that is the only fight to make for the two because it's such a Connor big payday. Situation. Yeah. So shout out to Joseph Bilotti before we move on. Barboza was never the same after the Khabib fight. P.S. Coach Khabib was pissed off last night. Yeah, he did lose his undefeated record there, my guy.
I have never seen Khabib Nurmagomedov behave like that. Not to say that it was out of line. I totally understand. He's a coach. He was very mad at Tim Elliott with the glove where he'd pull him in and then punch him because that is an illegal move. You shouldn't do it. And I get why Khabib was mad, but it was weird. It was out of character because Khabib is always that very like
cool, calm,
keeps his emotions in check. But Khabib was on one last night, and rightfully so. Nothing wrong with getting upset about that, especially as a coach. You want what's best for your fighters. But yeah, it was just weird. It was weird seeing Khabib like that. And Khabib was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
amazing. Shout out to you, Khabib.
Of course.
Let's get into church coin picks. So I had I went all in on Colby, and so after I added it all up, that was 5,529 church coin on Colby, and that gave me at a minus 330. That gave me a return of 1,675 church coin. Cosmo, you had 1K on Colby, and that gave you a return of 303 church coin, my guy.
Yeah, I put 3,300 on Colby, got 1,000 church coin return at a minus 330, and then I also had Colby by decision at a minus 110. I put 500 church coin and got a return of 454.
Yeah, my prop, I hedged my bet. I had Jorge KO just in case, just say fuck it, but why not? That did not hit, so I lost 250 church coin there. Cosmo, your prop was also Colby decision, and that gave you a return of 454 church coin as well for 500 bet there.